Well, hello and welcome to ILoveGay today. And we are back in the world of research and we're in the Caribbean and we're revisiting after this study is all done with Phil and Simone from Open for Business. How are you both?
Happy to
Hey,
be here.
Matt,
Hi, I'm
doing
good.
well.
Good to see you both. And what we're revisiting is that you guys had started when we talked almost a year ago about this study, the economic and business case for LGBTQ plus inclusion in the Caribbean. And yes, I did read that. Um, but now the study is wrapped up and it's completed, and you guys have got a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for this opportunity to speak about it. It's been over a year of data collection and analysis, and now we're really pivoting into launch events. So very thrilled to take a few moments to speak about what we learned, some of the most important statistics that emerged, and we can go from here.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess top level, what did you guys? I noticed in the presentation that you have that this is the largest LGBT study in the Caribbean that's been done to date.
Yeah, we're really proud of that. And I'll go into that in a few moments. I'll say that first, this was produced with Open for Business with support from Virgin Atlantic. And for them, they really wanted to engage in this data collection to say that, yes, there is this macroeconomic cost of LGBT plus exclusion, right? So to do that, we utilize a pre-existing World Bank economic model. But again, we really needed those data to do so. So I came on in April of 2020 as the lead investigator and brought together some amazing folks like Simone and so many others to be part of our participatory research. Yeah. And in so doing, we developed a very mixed methods research approach, and then in the end generated a very large data set that I'm happy to jump into, because with those data, we can do two big things. The first is to really showcase the outcomes and livelihoods of LGBT plus people in the region. Then the second is, of course, as I mentioned, put that into an estimate on the cost of exclusion, which really, because of this, we can say with assurance that between 2.1% and up to 5.7% of regional GDP is lost due to LGBT plus exclusion in the Caribbean.
And Simone, you're there local.
Can I just
Oh, yes,
add
yes.
something? Yeah, I just want to support but contextualize what Phil is explaining. Yes, tourism is a global industry, but in the context of the Caribbean is heavily dependent on tourism to power our economies, our GDP. And so having a study like this, access to data like this to inform policymakers, to inform the tourism agencies in terms of the new direction that we will all need to sort of take on in our reopening post-COVID, it's going to be critical.
But what I was saying is that you're local on the ground there, and you're also in the tourism field in Jamaica. So you're able to see this impact firsthand.
Yeah, yeah. I am with the Tourism Enhancement Fund, which is an agency of the Ministry of Tourism here in Jamaica. And we do a lot of the developmental work. We fund a lot of projects. The department that I work in specifically focuses on connecting local suppliers of goods and services with the tourism industry, which is a key part of a linkages strategy, ensuring that we are plugging the importation gaps and helping these multinational corporations to source their goods and their services with the local population.
Yeah. And I saw from some of the slides, you've been able to really pinpoint and show that unless things change, there's some of the folks you've interviewed and researched that they're not necessarily going to run to any place in the Caribbean until they feel that they feel safe and they feel that there's social progress in that area.
Yeah, so a lot of the research, it was pretty diverse and robust in terms of what it captured when it comes to LGBT issues. On the one side, it was LGBT outcomes in the region and amongst the diaspora. But as Simone mentioned, another part was a survey of prospective tourists coming to the region, right? Yeah. Predominantly from the UK, US, Canada. And what we tried to measure was the relationship between anti-LGBT plus laws and stigma and their likelihood to visit, right? Yeah. We thought that there could be this link because that international reputation could impact the likelihood to visit there. And we absolutely found that. So in two ways. In the survey itself, we found that close to 1 in 5 would not visit due to the perception of anti-LGBT treatment, as well as stigma, and how that translated into their perception of being able to travel safely. So 1 in 5 wouldn't come, right? That's such a significant loss. That's a systemic constraint on the tourism sector and industry. But on the flip side of that, inversely, what we found was that up to 60% of our sample would visit a country in the Caribbean, but only after it passed support for same-sex civil unions. This shows that for LGBT people, for non-LGBT people, when there is policies on behalf of the community that are enacted, that directly translates into their ability to visit there.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned the brain drain, but that really goes towards the diaspora that you were able to also document to show that, you know, people that live there have decided, you know, this region doesn't want me. I'm gonna go elsewhere.
Yeah, so when it comes to the survey of LGBT outcomes in the region, as well as our interviews with 21 business leaders, both captured how laws and stigma act as short and long-term incentives to leave the region and to stay gone, right? So not only was this amongst everyone, but this was specifically for LGBT people who had higher human capital, or more economically advantaged to be able to travel. So what this represents when you compare our diaspora sample to the sample in the Caribbean was a skills imbalance, which shows when coupled with these push factors, these systemic push factors, that's a clear brain drain for the region, which already struggles with brain drain. So that was another capture that allowed us to extrapolate the larger macroeconomic costs of LGBT exclusion.
Yeah. And I also noticed when I was reading through some of the stuff that for those that did wish to, chose to stay and make that area a part of their life is in the workplace side, the business case, the idea. And a lot of that I've seen before with what Out and Equal oftentimes tackle, which is, making employees feel comfortable and able to be themselves in the workplace, and a lot of those diversity and inclusion topics. But you guys really were able to kind of focus on some of that as well.
Yeah, and after you.
I mean, I just want to pop in there because I am, in fact, one of those people. I work in tourism. I am in the LGBTQ community, and I live in Jamaica. And I live an out life, and I own it. And I've been able to find a space where I can contribute to the development of my country in this industry, which really and truly, tourism is a liberal space. And having data like this, which can allow you to plan and strategize around how can you diversify your product offering to reach, and I have to use the word, but a more diverse audience. How can we do that? For the first time, here is this data from a reputable organization, Open for Business. We've done the work, and it's for the agencies and the ministries, the governments, to now use them as tools to to change the way we do tourism.
You just answered one of my questions, which was what do we do with this and where do we go from there? But it sounds like you've definitely got that, not only that plan in place, but you're starting to do something about it.
And I can speak specifically to Jamaica. The push now from our Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, is to bring on a blue ocean strategy. That's what it's called. Yeah. And one of the core objectives of that is to attract a diverse market of group of tourists to the island, to diversify beyond sun, sand, and sea. I mean, brand Jamaica, Matt, I'm sure you've heard about Jamaica. Yes. I'm not sure if you've ever been here, but it's on so many people's bucket list. Yes. And I feel like we are now looking at an opportunity to change perception in a way that will benefit the entire nation.
Yeah. How about you, Phil?
Yeah, thanks. Building on that, working with folks like Simone and so many others throughout the region. I mean, these are the conversations we're having right now. How do we really pair data with current advocacy efforts? What do we do to enact better, more inclusive policies. Having data on LGBT plus issues is quite rare when we look at the countries around the world that don't have data on LGBT plus people. So having this to promote visibility is so powerful. And really what we want to do now is have the right events to activate this, specifically when it comes to governments on the one side. So we want to ensure that post-COVID economic strategies are inclusive. We want to work with sectors like tourism to make sure that what they're doing is also inclusive and attracting that diverse audience that Simone mentioned. But also when it comes to economic development, we have 3 development banks, the World Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, and the Caribbean Development Bank, which have billions upon billions of dollars together. We want to activate them to be much more receptive and tuned to LGBT plus issues. Yeah. And then there's the private sector, which we mentioned before. In the Caribbean, they're becoming really attuned to these issues as a matter of employment and talent. So it's a matter of cultivating that business voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to add one thing to what Phil just said. Something really important has been happening since last year in Jamaica's case, for sure, where there is more entrepreneurs from the community who are entering into the tourism space, offering more intimate, smaller trips across the island. And so you see this growing pool of entrepreneurs from the community who are going into the tourism industry. And I believe that this study can also direct them in terms of how to strategize, where to look, in terms of marketing online and all of those things. The information, the data, it's so rich. It has the power to inform any level, whether it's at the policy level or at the business, the individual business level. Yeah. And I think that's important.
Oh, this is fantastic stuff. And what we're going to do is when we post this video, we're going to make sure there's links to all of the resources that you have, the presentation and so forth that you guys have worked so hard to put together. And but mostly I'm just really glad that you guys are able to take a few moments of your time to kind of share this story with our audience, because I think it's a very important story to get out there.
It is. And I want to say this week in Jamaica is we are celebrating our Pride. Pride doesn't always have a parade. We don't have one, but all week this week we are celebrating. We are a resilient community here in Jamaica. And I want to also mention that at a power breakfast this morning, we did speak about this Open for Business report, and we encourage members of academia, activists, civil society, members of the media who were there to definitely download this report and really sink their teeth into it, because the information is so valuable.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And on that, I just want to say happy Pride to everyone in Jamaica.
Thank you.
And a thanks to you, Simone, and to everyone who has been part of this research, and for allowing us to do so much. And hopefully we can take that to the next level with some pretty cool dissemination events.
Exactly. Well, thanks you both for being here, and look forward to connecting again.
Thanks, Matt.
All right.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Matt.
Thanks, Phil.